Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Kathy Kidd and I'm back with another video for you. Today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts about the Oxford High School shooting that happened in Oxford, Michigan. I'm going to give a timeline of events, talk about some of my personal experiences, and share my opinion about what I believe can be done to hopefully bring an end to these tragedies. I'll add links to the description box so that you can watch videos about the shooting. Before I begin, I ask that you click like, subscribe to my channel so that others can join in on the conversation. Leave me a comment with your thoughts and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great content. Click the notification bell so you can know every time I upload a video. Now, let's begin. On November 30th, 2021, a student who allegedly was carrying a semi-automatic handgun in his backpack opened fire at Oxford High School in Oxford, Michigan. Although police responded quickly and it only took 5 minutes to disarm him, still 4 students have died and 7 others, including a teacher, were injured. The students who died were 14-year-old Hannah St. Juliana, Tate Meir, who was 16, Madison Baldwin, who was 17, and 17-year-old Justin Schilling. The shooter has been identified as 15-year-old Ethan Crumbley. He was arrested on the scene and is now being tried as an adult on 24 counts, including 4 counts of first-degree murder. Ethan's parents, James Crumbley and Jennifer Crumbley, are also being tried on 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter, which could bring them possibly up to 15 years for each count. So what happened leading up to this tragedy? Investigators found that 4 days prior to the shooting, James Crumbley bought a semi-automatic handgun in the presence of his son, Ethan. Ethan posted a picture of the handgun on social media saying that it was his, quote, new beauty. Ethan's mother, Jennifer, also posted a video of herself and Ethan outside playing target practice with the weapon prior to the shooting. She called it his Christmas gift. In one of his classes, a teacher caught Ethan on his phone researching ammunition. His parents were alerted of this, and Ethan's mother sent him a text message saying that she wasn't mad at him, but he just had to learn not to get caught. And she included LOL in her message. When, I don't know if it was the same teacher, saw a disturbing drawing that Ethan had made of a person being shot. She took a picture of the drawing and took it to officials. She reported Ethan to officials, and they called him into a meeting along with his parents, and that happened on the day of the shooting. Although Ethan had his backpack with him at that meeting, neither his parents nor the officials searched Ethan's backpack. He was questioned about the drawing, and he was ordered to, they were ordered to get him into mental health care within 48 hours, and then he was allowed to go back to class. Later, Ethan's mother sent him a text message saying, "Don't do it." James Crumbley called the police after that and reported the weapon missing, and he said that he believed that Ethan was the shooter. After the shooting happened and Ethan was taken into custody, his parents were nowhere to be found. It was announced the next day that James and Jennifer Crumbley would be charged with the 4 counts each of involuntary manslaughter. They drove about 40 minutes away from home, from Oxford, Michigan to Detroit, and they hid. They were taken into custody days later when they were found to be in a warehouse of a friend of theirs who was an artist. They claimed that they weren't evading arrest, but that they were in fear of their lives and that's why they ran. The friend of theirs claimed that he did not know that they had charges pending, and but he may be facing charges of harboring a fugitive. Ethan and his parents, who are all housed at the same jail, even though they're separated from each other, have all been arraigned, and all of them have pleaded not guilty. You can watch all of the videos about the Oxford High School shooting on YouTube, but I included a bunch of them in the description box. One of the things I thought about while watching the story unfold, clearly Ethan's parents knew what he was going to do, and they took an active role in helping him plan it. Early investigation into Ethan's past and his belongings, including a journal, they claimed that there was no history of him being bullied, and he didn't have any prior history of disciplinary action. In my opinion, if they dig deeper, they'll find the evidence that they're looking for, because to me, it's clear that he was being bullied. The way I see it, Ethan most likely was going home to his parents and telling them that he was going through some stuff at school, and they probably were going up to the school and reporting it, and nothing was being done about it. I believe that is what caused them, because that's the only way that I can see that they would just so blatantly help their son. Go out and purchase a weapon for him. He's too young to purchase it on his own, so his father took him to go purchase it. And his mother out there playing target practice with him. There's no way in the world that they can say that they weren't helping him plan this. And I believe that it was frustrations because of him having been bullied. I really believe that. I mean, I'm just speculating, but I believe it. Now, let's be honest. When parents find out somebody's been picking on their kids, they get angry. They get boiling mad. And if they were doing what they were supposed to do and going and reporting it to the school and nothing was happening, their anger increased over time. That's what I believe happened with Ethan's parents. Now, don't get me wrong, because I'm not justifying anything that Ethan did. I'm just looking at it, that if we find out from the source of where things began, we can figure out how we can bring it to an end. It can be easy to just discard Ethan as a piece of trash. And that's what I believe people are doing. Like when I listen to the news reports, it's like they just discarded him like a piece of trash. But if everyone can take a moment and just think back to when you were in school and think about the times when you were bullied or teased about something, whatever it may have been, and remember how you felt. Hopefully you can see where I'm coming from with this and where I'm going. As a parent, think about how you felt when your kids came home and told you that they had been being bullied at school. Think about when you went up to the school and tried to do something about it, and you only ended up even angrier because nothing was being done about it. Most kids are not going to go buy a handgun, and shoot up a school. But how many parents have been called to the school because of their kids fighting? And how many parents have had their kids suspended for fighting, and when they questioned their kid told them that they were being bullied, that's why they would fight? How many parents sided with their kids? And, whether they told anybody else that they sided with them or not, they sided with their kids because they felt, why should they, get their kid in trouble while they just trying to defend themselves? If it had if it had to go to such extreme measures, I believe this had been going on for a long time, probably since Ethan first started school. And that's what I thought when I first saw the first picture that they posted of him, where he, he was younger, and he kind of looked like he wasn't as angry or whatever as he looked on the day of the shooting, but he had on some thick glasses. And a lot of times when there's that kid that, look like they might be nerdy, because that's the stereotype that people give when they see a kid with glasses, I believe that he was being picked on from that time. And he looked like, I'm just looking based on what I saw in the picture. I'm just reading based on what I saw in the picture. Like maybe he might have been smaller than the other kids. So they might have seen him as an easy target, and this probably was happening to him a lot. Now, justice should most certainly be served. And Ethan and his parents should not be getting off with a slap on the wrist. Okay? They knew exactly what they were doing. And who knows if they would do something like this again if they were given the chance. I feel sad that all these lives have been changed forever. The parents and families who have lost children in the shooting will likely never get over the pain of losing their child, sending their child to school only to see them for the last time, never knowing that that would be the last time that they ever saw their child. Every student who was at that school that day will always remember where they were when the shooting happened. And that shooting could most certainly have been prevented. One of the videos I included in the description box is of a student who went to pick up a friend. And he described that friend, they're close to each other, so he called them like his play cousin. We know a lot of us, sometimes have play cousins or whatever when we get close to that person. And he said that he had an eerie feeling. When he got up that day, he had called all his group that he normally would go to school with, and they were all saying that they weren't going to school. So he told his mom he wasn't going, and because he just didn't feel right. So his mother let him go ahead and stay, but one of his friends went. And, so when he heard about the shooting, he and his mom hurried up and got dressed, and they rushed up to the school to try to get him home safely. Another of the videos that I watched was of a boy who was a good friend to two of the boys that died. He was good friends with Tate Meir. He was on the football team with him, and he was sharing his memories of him. And he found out during that interview that his other friend, Justin Schilling, who was his best friend, had also passed away. And he and his parents, they all broke down crying. They were very distraught. It was a very heartbreaking thing to watch. And also another video that I'm including in the description box was of one of the reporters said that the schools are now going over everything, trying to figure out what they can do to prevent this from happening and in the future. And they're like, they just want to go over everything. And they were expressing frustration because even though they felt that they did everything right, they responded as fast as they could. They hurried up and disarmed him. All the students, they hurried up and they ran and they hid and prepared themselves in case if they had to fight. And, they did everything, all of the safety measures properly, and still 4 students still ended up dying. And so they're just frustrated about it and, just don't know what else they can do. In situations like this, fingers get pointed and blame gets placed, and Some people say it's the school. Some people say it's the parents. Not to mention the kid that commit the crime. And some people say gun control is the problem. And they've taken every measure that they can to train everybody. And I'm not saying that all of that shouldn't be looked at. But I believe that there's a missing link. And that missing link that I believe it is try listening. So more on that in a bit, but while you letting that thought sink in, I invite you to click like on the video and share it as I get ready to go further. So a little personal history on me. So I have 2 children. I have a son and a daughter, and they are now 20 and 17. My daughter will be 18 coming up in February, and she's a senior in high school. My son is, he's in his 2nd year in college now. And for most of their time, on and off, I homeschooled them. Okay, and I did it the best I could because sometimes I did struggle, you know. But me homeschooling them, that was something that I was not interested in doing. But I'm a Christian, and I do believe in following God's lead in anything that I would try to do. And so when the Lord was leading me to homeschool the kids, you know, I went ahead and I followed that leading. I went ahead and did it. And now that I'm seeing so much happening in our schools, I'm so glad that I did it for the time that I did. Now, during the time that they were in school, so when they started out, my son was in kindergarten, my daughter was in pre-K. And so my son, he was, you know, he was bright. Both of them very bright kids, very smart. They started school very eager to learn and, you know, just excited about it. And slowly but surely, I watched that light, that love that they have for learning go out, you know. And when you think about that, you know, why would that happen? You know, it would be so easy if everybody could just go to school, you know, for the purpose. What is the purpose of going to school? So you can get your education, so you can learn, so you can hopefully grow up and be a productive citizen, you know, when you grow up and go out into the world. But it's everything alongside of that. All the little sideline stuff that happens, you know, all of the bullying, and, you know, sometimes you have teachers that really don't want to be there, people that act like they don't care, and, you know, all the different things is so much. I mean, if everybody take the time to really think back to your days when you were in school, and even some that have children that are in school now, and think about all the things that happen, you know, that just cause you to be frustrated, you know, then, you know, you can understand, you know, you couldn't wait to get out of school, you know, and it just made me feel sad. So like when my son was in kindergarten, and he first started drawing when he was 4 years old. And, you know, so when he would draw, he would make a circle for the face. He would make a triangle for the body. And then he would put the 2 legs and everything. And he knew how to animate them and everything, you know. And so he already, I didn't even realize that I was already homeschooling my kids when the Lord was leading me to take them out and to take charge of their education. By the time I put them in for the first time, my son was he already knew how to read, which I can't even take credit for, because all I did was support him, you know, when he was trying to learn. When he asked questions, you know, I just would answer him, you know. And so he ended up learning how to read on his own. The only 2 things that he didn't know in kindergarten was how to tell time, you know, based on the old clock, and how to count money. Those were the only 2 things he didn't know. Everything else he knew. He knew how to write his name. He knew all his colors. He knew all of that stuff, you know. And so they got a chance to go on a field trip, and they went to the Shed Aquarium, because we're from Chicago originally. They went to the Shed Aquarium, and he got a chance to participate in the dolphin show. Because a person who was working there, they went up to his teacher and they asked her if she had a student that was really good at taking direction, that listened well and everything. Without hesitation, she told me she chose him. Because I didn't get to go on the field trip that day. I was with my daughter, who's in pre-K. And so he participated in the dolphin show. He had a lot of fun. And then that day, at the end, you know, when they were back at school, they were eating their lunch and everything. They were, you know, spending the rest of the school time drawing. She let them draw and color and everything. And he was drawing his little pictures and all of that kind of stuff. And the boy, it was a boy in his class who just, I know it was out of jealousy, just reached over and started scratching out his drawing. Just started scratching it out. And then he just reached over and punched my son in the mouth. And there was blood coming out of his mouth. And when I went to pick him up that day, his teacher told me that happened. And over time, you know, she just, you know, would tell me, she started taking me to the side. And this was how I was getting the confirmation that I needed to take him out of homeschool, because she told me, she said, you know, he's so bright and he's so smart. She said, you need to get him out of here. Because at first she was talking about skipping him and putting him in first grade, but then she got to thinking about the teacher. She didn't like the teacher herself. You know, she was over him. She was protecting him like he was her own kid, which I definitely appreciated. But she told me, you need to get him out of here. And so she ended up telling me about a gifted program. So I took him and I had him tested for the gifted program. He scored in the 99th percentile. And they usually like kids to be 100 and above. And but they sent me a note saying that doesn't necessarily mean that he wouldn't be accepted into the program. So what I did was I prayed and I said, okay, Lord, if it's your will, if he gets accepted into the program, then I'm going to let him go. But if not, then I'll know that it's your will for me to homeschool him. And guess what happened? He didn't get accepted. So then during that time, I was doing my research and, you know, just trying to figure out how I'm going to do this and, you know, what do I need to go through and all of that. Illinois is pretty relaxed about homeschooling, which I was happy to find out. And so I ended up taking him out. When I took him out, I worked with him in first grade work, and I worked with my daughter in kindergarten work. And so, but the thing that I noticed was that after that incident where he got punched in the mouth, that affected him. And I started to notice that when I put him in the second time, when I myself went back to school, he was so into, like, he started dumbing himself down. And that's what his teacher in kindergarten told me that he was doing. And that's why she was telling me I needed to get him out of there. You should never have to dumb yourself down to be on other people's level, you know, level of learning. It's not that you think anything is wrong with them, but why shouldn't you want to excel? And why should people have a problem with you excelling? You know, now with my daughter, after I put them back in for the second time, my daughter, at the time she was in 5th grade, and she had this teacher that I was praying that she would not get, because this lady spent more of her time yelling at the kids in class than she did actually teaching. And my daughter would come home and complain to me that, she couldn't even hear herself think. She's kind of like me, where like when she reads, she have to be able to hear herself read those words. I think that's called an auditory learner. And a lot of times she couldn't concentrate. So when she started getting bullied, because how many kids don't go through this? When she started getting bullied, she went and reported it to that teacher, and the teacher actually told her that she believed that the kids should work it out for themselves. Now, if my daughter was a violent person and she ended up fighting, then they would be looking at me. They'd be looking at me like I'm not training my kids. I'm not, no home training. No, everything would be everybody's fault but theirs. And the thing is, there are some really, really good teachers in school, but there are some ones that really don't need to be teaching people. Okay? There are people that, who's supposed to be officials, people who's supposed to be guidance counselors and stuff like that don't care. They don't really care, And a lot of people are frustrated. The good teachers are frustrated because they're not allowed to teach the way they want to, And, a lot of the kids, I believe the kids are frustrated because nobody listens to them. We do so much for the kids, but not with the kids, That's why I say try listening. Listen to them, So, that's what I wanted to share about my personal experience, okay? We really, really do need to listen more, okay? So, the old saying goes that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, And I believe kids need to be listened to by their parents, by the teachers, and by the school officials, by everybody that come in contact with them. A lot of us come from that old school time where, kids are supposed to be seen and not heard. And I believe it's because they feel like they don't have a voice, nobody listens to them, and they feel like they have to resolve their own issues, and that's how they end up a lot of times in trouble, So here's what I believe need to be done, okay? Number one, teachers don't play favoritism, okay? Yeah, I'm talking as a concerned parent, because I know people don't like people telling them how to do their job, but when you play favoritism, giving one kid more positive attention than another, in my opinion, that encourages bullying and sets the kids up for alienation. Deal with bullies head on and don't allow them to get off scot-free. Okay? Also, don't stick labels on kids. One of the other videos that I was watching, there was a lady on there. She was saying, watch out for those quiet kids, the loner kids, the ones that's all by themselves, And, I kind of looked at that because I've been a kid, I was pretty much a loner, A lot of times, sometimes kids are loners because they've been alienated by other kids because they've been rejected. Sometimes they're loners because, they feel like they don't fit in, and they end up on their own. So I believe that labeling them, if you label them and you tell other kids, watch out for them because they're quiet and all of that, that's going to stick a label on them. That's going to have the other kids looking at them in a negative fashion. Remember, as adults, kids at young ages, they absorb everything. They absorb everything from us. They learn from us, whether it be directly or indirectly. So if we're labeling somebody and they trust in everything that we tell them, if they see us labeling somebody, then they're going to be thinking about that person in a negative fashion too. And that's the last thing that need to be happening to a kid. Okay, I'm just talking objectively about what I believe need to be done to stop these type of tragedies from happening. It's like, when they deal with everything, when the kids get failing scores, like when the school comes up where they getting poor scoring, first thing they do is they change the curriculum, you know, and we come up with all of these different intricate solutions to our problems when sometimes it seems like it's the simplest thing. Just take time to listen to them. Guidance counselors, please do your jobs. Do your job. Make sure that you have an open door policy so the kids know that they have somewhere to go, and let them come to you and talk to you about anything, and do that without judging them. Okay? If you cannot care about the kids that you're working with or around, you should not be working with them. Okay? I'm speaking boldly. All right? Teachers, guidance counselors, anybody that work with kids and around kids, even if you are a daycare provider, okay? One thing I want y'all to do, please stop looking at these kids like they just a paycheck. Okay? That right there, I could go on about that, for the longest. It's like, they don't really, what do they do to engage with the kids? It's like, I feel like a lot of times people, why there's so much job dissatisfaction, not just in schools, okay, but it seems like everywhere. If everybody take time to think about it, where you work now, and the frustrations that you come home with, is toxic. A lot of our environments are really, really toxic, and that includes our schools. Okay? When you see kids bullying other kids, listen, I'm going to say this. Teachers, don't join in. There are some teachers that actually join in on laughing at the jokes made about kids. They join in on bullying them. Don't do that. You're an adult. You're supposed to be an example for the kids. Okay? If the kids think they see you bullying a kid, they see you laughing, they're going to feel it's okay. It's okay for them to bully that kid. That's not right. Guess what? A lot of these kids they're carrying a lot of stuff in them. There are kids that's carrying a lot of stress. And they shouldn't be. We want kids to stay in the kids' place. And they can't do that because they dealing with a whole lot and don't have nobody to tell it to. Okay, so make sure that they have an open door policy and listen to them without judgment. Establish mental health connections with mental health people, mental health professionals. Okay? I believe that if the schools have that, I guess that's what the guidance counselor is supposed to be in the first place, I think. Okay? But I believe that mental health professionals, psychologists, psychiatrists, social workers, I believe that they should have a connection. The school should have a connection with them, okay? And it should be made known to the kids that there's an open door policy, okay? If you need to talk about anything, if you need to talk about it discreetly, if you're being picked on by another kid, if you're being abused at home, because some kids are going home and being abused. I wanted to talk about this stuff today because it's a lot. It's a lot. And we think about everything from our own point of view. And a lot of times we just think kids are not supposed to have, they're not supposed to have feelings. They're not supposed to express themselves. Can you imagine What it would be like if you had to live with all of that stuff bottled. Maybe that's the reason a lot of adults don't know how to communicate with people, because they weren't taught that. You know, when that anger boils up and it boils over, who knows what will happen. And now you got kids that, you know, they're going to have to deal with this for the rest of their lives. Everybody that was in that school when that shooting happened, they'll never forget that. Everybody that was in any school, okay? Because we know it happens in elementary schools. It happens on college campuses. It happens everywhere. Now, parents, if you don't show your kids that you care about them and about what they're into, then they'll be left to resolve their issues on their own. And they need guidance from us. They need that. Now, I don't think that was the case as far as Ethan, okay? Because obviously his parents were active. I mean, active in the wrong doggone way. But they appear to be active with him. And I believe that they conspired with him and that they were, you know, they were complicit in helping him commit the school shooting. But some parents, they show little care or concern for what's going on in their kids' lives. Okay? Now, you know, during the time that my kids were in regular school, I call it regular school as opposed to homeschooling. When they were in regular school, I took an active part. I was up there. You know, if they were singing in the assembly, you know, the little kids can't sing when they singing, you know, the Christmas songs, and they standing up there looking like they don't want to be there in the first place. But if they look out there and see their parents out there, that makes them feel good. You know, I was active with my kids, you know, and I would cheer for them, you know. And I had a teacher, one of my son's teachers had the nerve to say to me, your kid ain't perfect. You know, I never ever thought my kids were perfect. I don't think my kids are perfect. It ain't about them being perfect. But when they doing well, we can get after kids when they doing wrong. And tell them when they doing wrong. But it shouldn't be a crime for us to tell them when they doing right. I believe that every single parent should be their child's biggest cheerleader. Nobody should cheer more for your kids than you. You know, it doesn't take anything away from any other kid because you showing love for your own. I should never have heard that from a teacher. If anything, the teacher should have been happy that I'm taking part in what my kids are doing. I've never spoken ill of nobody else's kids. I was just happy that my kids were into, you know, school and doing what they were supposed to do, you know, and not that they didn't sometimes, you know, have to get talked to or whatever. You know, all kids do at some point. Okay, and if we show some of the kids that their parents are not involved in their lives at all, some of those kids might be the very bullies out there, the ones that's out there, bullying other kids, you know. Now, teachers and school officials, please, if parents go to you and they tell you that their kid is being bullied and everything, they come to you with problems that their kids are having, please believe them and do something about it. Okay? If you don't want to deal with parents and you don't want to deal with kids, maybe you should change your profession. Maybe you shouldn't be there. Okay? This is something that I have felt for a long time, okay? That needs to be over and done with. And this is not just in schools. This is any job, okay? Don't just take a job just because it's a job. Just because it's a way for you to get a steady paycheck. If you don't really want to be there, go seek out the things that you really want to do. Because it shows up. When people see that you don't really want to be there, it shows up. It shows up in your attitude toward the people that you're supposed to be serving. It shows up in your attitude, you know, to the people that you work with. I believe that's what makes these environments, so many of our work environments, so toxic, as well as the school. Because the people don't want to be there in the first place. Okay, but who put a gun to your head? Okay, you know you have bills to pay, so you took the job because you had the bills to pay. But if you signed up to do the job, don't take it out on other people because you don't like the job. Find something that you like to do. And the kids are a lot to deal with. They are. And we know they are. Those of us that raise kids, that are parents, we know it's a lot. It's not easy. Okay? But if you sign on to work with kids or around kids, then you should be giving the best of yourself to that job. And if you feel like you can't do that, then you shouldn't be there. And that's in any job that you work. Because nobody deserves to be punished because you don't like what you're doing for a living. I'm venting a lot today. Yeah, any teacher, going back to what I was saying about, you know, teachers that's joining in on bullying the kids, if you join in and people find out that you've been joining in on bullying a kid, laughing at them, teasing them, you deserve to have disciplinary action taken against you too. I believe that kids who bully, they need to know that there are consequences for their actions. So set their punishment and follow through. Stick to it. Stick to it. Show them you serious. Maybe some of these kids, like when they get unruly, that's probably the reason they get unruly, because they feel like they can do whatever they want and there's no consequences for it. In Michigan, students and most likely teachers and admins are afraid to go to school because of this shooting. Can you imagine the fear and the anxiety if you were on any campus, on any school grounds, when a shooting happened? You know, think about Sandy Hook. Think about Columbine, Virginia, Virginia Tech. These other schools. Think about any school that you knew about that had a school shooting. Even if it didn't happen in your town, doesn't mean that it can't, because it can happen anywhere. All right? So this is something, I don't live in Michigan. I'm from Illinois, and right now I live in Georgia. Okay? But this can happen anywhere. Anywhere. If it happened to one kid, it can happen to all the kids. Can you imagine if you've been through, if you were there when a shooting happened? The anxiety you would feel every time you step in that building? Can you imagine the anxiety, you know, of the students, of even the teachers, the admins, anybody that work in the school area that, you know, maybe have that question roaming around in their mind, is this going to be my last time? That's outrageous. Nobody should ever have to ask that question, especially when they go into a school. You're going to improve your life, to better yourself, not to lose your life. So everything that I'm talking about, you know, about connecting with mental health professionals, about listening to these kids. I believe that those measures need to be taken across this country. I really do. And those of us that are praying people, we got to pray. Pray every day. If you put oil on your child's head and pray when they leave out that door. So let's keep the parents, let's keep the families of the students who lost their lives in prayer. The students at Oxford High School, let's not forget them. Let's keep them in our prayers. Let's pray for the safety of kids, as well as the faculty and staff of all the schools across our entire nation. Let's keep them all in prayer. Let's pray that they take this, what seems like such a simple measure, listening. Listening. Not just listening, believing and doing something about it. Whatever they come to you about. Let's take that seriously. And hopefully, I'm hoping that some school officials will see this, that somebody will see this. I know right now my channel is really tiny, it's itty bitty right here, but hey, one voice can make a big difference. And I'm praying that somebody who works in or around the school, that they can start implementing that they can take that back and start talking to other people about it. Listen to the kids. Show them that you care. Engage with them. Even the kids that are quiet, that are off to themselves. Sometimes if they just know, like if you just offer them, hey, you can come with us or you can come over here. Sometimes if they just are invited, if they're introverted, maybe they might not want to join in. And if they don't, their space should be respected, but don't label them. And sometimes if they just know that they're invited, that can make them feel good. Make them feel included. Make them feel a part of. And when you see another kid putting down a kid, say something about it. Don't just let that go. Don't just let it go. Deal with them about it. Because I believe that that's where it starts. Some things start off real small, and they escalate to a much bigger thing and become a much bigger thing if it's not dealt with. Deal with it when it's small, and that way it won't become a humongous thing. Like people losing their lives, people scared, people seeing their kids for the last time, not even knowing if their kids that's gonna be the last time they see them. Nobody should have to go through that. And wherever you work, if you don't want to be there, then reevaluate things so you can be somewhere that you most want to be. Because we need that to be cut out. We need it. All right, so if you made it all the way to the end of this video, I want to let you know that I greatly appreciate you for sticking around. I ask that you click like and share this video so we can get a discussion going on this topic. I really would like to know what people have to say about this. Leave me a comment. What are your thoughts about the Oxford High School shooting? If you live in Michigan, where were you that day? There are other threats from other schools. And they taking all that stuff seriously. People getting in big trouble. You know, it's a lot of kids like joking around about stuff like that. And that shouldn't be happening. It's not a joke. It's not funny. People losing their lives is not funny. Tell me your story. I want to hear your story. Were you bullied in school? What did you do about it? If you're a parent, have your kids dealt with bullying? How did you as a parent deal with your child being bullied in school? And while we have this conversation, because I believe it can get pretty heated, especially when we start thinking about stuff that we've been through and how we were treated by certain people and everything. Let's be kind, okay? We're just having a conversation. We're sharing stories. And I'm hoping that somebody that work in and around schools will see this and take it seriously and take it back to their school and they start implementing it. So we can try to stop this stuff from happening in the future. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more great content. And click the bell notification so that you can know every time I upload a video. And once again, I thank you so much for watching. And I wish all the best for you and yours. Until we meet again.